Hello, everyone. Godre here, and this is my money brief. On today's money brief, I want to talk about Ghana. Ghana had a new president sworn in on the 7th of January 2025. President John Dramani Mahama is back as president, just like in the US, he was president at some point and then lost his election uh, to uh, to the outgoing president Nana Akufo, and then Akufo-Addo, and who they are quite chummy with. They were. I mean, they're friends, and even though they belong to different political parties. Um, Incidentally, now Akufo-Addo is now handing power back to John Dramani Mahama. In fact, I was reading through the speech, and Mahama said Akufo-Addo calls him Johnny. I think he's probably the only person who calls him Johnny. So interesting watching the inauguration ceremony earlier, and a lot of things there that we saw that was interesting, and you could see the full glare of Ghana's culture right there at the inauguration. I think Ghana kind of takes its culture very seriously, and it's a good advertisement for Ghanaian tourism, which they are really, really pushing. But anyway, today's money brief is about the speech, and an area of the speech that I'm really interested in is the economic message that Ghana is given. So they have a new president, and his own economic ideology is not so far off from Nana, Ado, but he seems to have a different. He seems to have a different action or different way he wants to implement it. I think that's a better way to put that. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I saw in his speech. So the first one was he was focused on macroeconomic stability, for Ghana as one of the things that's one of his very first priority. Now he's lucky because he's now being handed taking over an economy that is already in ascendancy. Under Nana, Akufo-Addo, Ghana went through a lot of turmoil. Of course, COVID didn't help at all. So, it took time for the economy to heal. And they even had debt defaults. And so that basically took a lot of the time for Nana Akufo-Addo, so he really couldn't even implement some of the things that he also planned to implement. And so, but last year, I think they had a lot of recovery from a macroeconomic standpoint. Their inflation rate numbers, if I'm not mistaken, it went from about 30 something percent and then strengthened to 20 something percent at the end of at least towards the end of last year, 9.23% towards the end of 2023, and about 23% at some point. So we even saw Ghana overtake Nigeria in terms of better inflation rate. So you can see that it's trending downwards for Ghana. In terms of GDP growth rate as well, Ghana is even growing faster than Nigeria. Ghana, at the last numbers, at their third quarter GDP numbers, I think was over 7% also for the GDP growth rate, and GDP is now about 7 something billion. So from a macroeconomic standpoint, it looks like Ghana is already turning in the right direction. So I think for John Dramani, it's probably he's now taking over an economy that is in recovery mode, and so shouldn't be that difficult for him to make things much better than he left it. Now, he also mentioned reopening Ghana for business. And I'm sure you'll be wondering, is Ghana not open for business? I don't think so. Like, the Ghana of maybe the last 3-4 years is not the same Ghana of maybe 10-15 years ago. I remember when a lot of Nigerians were flocking to Ghana because Ghana was essentially open for business. But I think there was a bit of a closed up Ghana for the last few years. And I think he's trying to fix that. There's a lot of regulations, there were increasing taxes, and there were even calls of high increase in corruption and all that. in Ghana. At some point, we were even saying maybe the oil curse is now affecting Ghana, especially since they started producing oil themselves. So he says that he wants to rationalize the tax regime and make it transparent and fair. Now, I don't know whether rationalizing means reducing those taxes or eliminating some of those tax increases that we found under Nana Akufo-Addo, but he's claiming that one of the things that he's going to do is to rationalize those taxes as well. And then he also says he's going to support business leaders and entrepreneurs to foster creativity and investment. So again, on the improving business and business environment, I think maybe Ghana is probably going to be a lot better if he actually does what he's promised to do in his term. So for Nigerians looking to invest in Ghana, I think we got to look out for a Ghana that has ease of doing business as its cornerstone. Now, remember, Nigeria too has been clamoring for ease of doing business for years, but we all know where we are on that. And then now, the third thing that I feel was actually the most poignant to me, which he did mention a lot in his campaign speeches for those who follow Ghana politics, was the 24-hour economy that Ghana wants to introduce. Never been heard before, at least in Africa, and I don't know which country does that, but he wants to introduce a 24-hour economy. Like, that's his vision, where corporations and businesses in Ghana are essentially open 24/7. So for that to happen, it means that you're going to see a lot of shift working. So people are going to be working shifts all through the year. This comes with attendant costs, because it means you're going to keep the lights on all through the day. It means operations are going to go on all through the day. So that will also cost wear and tear, a lot of repairs, a lot of maintenance. Then you're going to need manpower as well, because people are going to be running shifts day and night. And so in a way, that could actually drive economic growth, because it then means people are working around the clock. But you do hope that when you introduce a 24-hour economy, that it leads to higher productivity. I think that is really what is going to determine whether this idea works or not. There are companies who run 24/7, we know that, but because of the kind of services they render, it is easy for them to run 24/7, or it is mandatory that they run 24/7, like hospitals. So even if you use those ones as a benchmark, their business model sort of supports it in a way. And so they tend to also have very high staff turnover as well. And then they might not totally be the best, paid jobs. However, when they do want to pay well, their offering is actually quite expensive, or their service is actually quite expensive. So it'd be interesting to see how Ghana goes on to implement it. Is he going to start first with the public sector? I don't know. Or is he going to go right into, the private sector, or run it side by side? It will be interesting to know. But he says to him, he wants to keep Ghanaian markets and public services operational around the clock. So it means most Ghanaian ministries and MDs are going to be working all through. So that kind of feeds back to his trying to improve the business environment. So it means no closing, right? So Ghanaian offices or public offices won't close. He says that's going to bolster job creation, especially for the youth, and stimulate local industries, and then probably going to attract foreign investment. So I am hugely interested in seeing how Ghana's 24-hour economy works, and if it's something that maybe Nigeria can borrow. Perhaps might not be Nigeria as a country, but some states can probably look to borrowing. And then the last thing that he said that was of interest to me is his focus on youth through decent, well-paying jobs. So I don't know. Does it mean that Ghana might at some point increase their minimum wage this year? Well, it will be interesting to see. But he did also mention opportunities from the education sector, entrepreneurship, and employment. And then I know that was the last thing I said, but there was something else that kind of caught my attention in his speech, and that was his comment on the BRICS. Now, the outgoing president, the former president, Nana, did say that, did want Ghana to join the BRICS. And now the current president has said they will be looking in that direction. In fact, he kind of said that Ghana would position itself strategically to benefit from a lot of the geopolitical machinations going on globally. So, interesting to see whether he goes forward with that, because most times when whatever Nigeria does, whatever Ghana does, Nigeria does, whatever Nigeria does, Ghana does, and you can see Tinubu was right there in that opening ceremony. He even gave a speech as ECOWAS chairman, and I hear they're quite really close. And so, interesting to see how that pans out, because Africa really does need to position itself very well to take advantage of a lot of the geopolitical moves going on globally without necessarily aligning with anyone. I think that's really what's important. So that is my breakdown of Ghana's new president's speech from an economic perspective, not from a political perspective. Are there any things that you saw in the speech that interest you that maybe you want me to touch on, I didn't touch on? Please let me know. Just drop it right in the comment section. So that's my morning brief for today, and I hope you did find today's one instructive. Bye.